Projects, programs, and portfolios. Do you know the difference between them? Do you hear them all the time and you're a PM and you're supposed to know these, but you feel like you don't really know the difference between them? Do you think a program is a very large project? Do you think a portfolio is something related to finance and that you're never going to have to deal with it? Are you not sure what the differences are? Well, that's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to explain the differences between projects, programs, and portfolios. My name is Edward Shihab. If you like videos about project management, may I ask that you click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be updated whenever I have a new video on projects. All right, so let's start with the smallest one, or is it? Are projects smaller than programs? Are programs smaller than portfolios? Sometimes they are. The majority of the times they are, but it's not always the case. A project is a one-off initiative. So a project could be a physical deliverable. So we are building a bridge, or we are building a house, or we are setting up the conference room, or maybe we are redoing the kitchen. So these are projects. They have a beginning, they have an end, and there's a specific budget. They need to be planned. You need someone to lead it, probably needs a small to a larger team, but it is a one-off event. So it's a one item. It's usually not more than one. So if you're changing all the lights in a building, the light bulbs, from normal ones, and you want to change them to energy efficient, you can call that a project because it is a one-off event. It has a specific budget, has a specific scope. For example, we have 120 light bulbs that we want to change, and it needs to be done by this date, and someone's going to be assigned to it. So that is a project. It's a one-off initiative, has a beginning, has an end, has a specific outcome, a deliverable, a physical outcome most of the times, but it can be a business process. It can be a service. So a business process, for example, you're trying to create a registration process for your new, let's say, some service that you have, right? And you want to create a registration form with a person who picks up the form and maybe dispatches it to someone who will eventually contact the customer and then eventually will close out this request or service. So that is a business process that needs to be created. Or maybe you want to open a bank account at your favorite bank. And you, from the moment that you walk in to the moment that you finish all of your setup for the account, where you now have an account number and maybe a debit card, that is a business process. So if you're putting together a process, that is also a project. So that is a process. But you can also have a service. You want to set up the service. So you want a place where people can come to you and request some service from you. Maybe you have an application counter where people can come and request, for example, a job application for your company, right? That is a service. Maybe it's going to be an online, maybe it's going to be a portal, or maybe you're just going to be a person there at the kiosk where somebody is going to come to you. So if you're setting up a service, there is a timeline for when it needs to be completed, and when it is, then that project is complete. So that's what projects are. They're either products, services, or maybe it could be a result. How about that? You're trying to enhance, for example, the number of transactions that this system can do within an hour. Maybe it does 50 transactions and you want to increase it to 70 transactions, right? That is a project. So all the things, all the requirements that you need to satisfy so that the system can now do 70 transactions per hour, that is the objective of your project, and that's what the project will be about. So that's what projects are. So now let's move into programs. And before we do so, I just want to highlight a key thing about projects. Projects are usually inspectable or verifiable at the end of delivery. So I finished the bridge, or I finished the house, or I finished the conference room, or I finished setting up the service. You can inspect it and test it right then. And if it looks good to you and it matches all of the specifications and requirements, then it is considered complete. Okay, so that's when you deliver that project. Programs, on the other hand, do not, most of the time, will not deliver the outcome just from the physical deliverable. So let's take this service that you set up for applications to your company. Let's say you are one of these major big companies that has, let's say, 10, 20,000 employees, and you are accepting application for new recruits because you are in a fast growing market, right? So you set up this service where people can walk up to you, submit their CV, resume as you wish, and, you know, with some other information, and then you can quickly do maybe an impromptu interview for these people and put them in the queue for people that are potential employees in your company. And you set up this service, right? If you set it up, your project is done. Now, whether your project results in something useful at the end or not, the person who set it up has already set it up and their project is successful. From a program perspective, there will be an additional question. Why did we set up this service? Okay, why is that service needed? What are we trying to get out of it? Now, think about the strategic benefits that you wanted to get from this service. If your goal was to increase the staff that you have by 15% over the course of 1 year, then achieving that 15% would signify that your program was a success. All right. So setting up the service in itself is a project. Setting up the components needed so that by the end of a year, you have gained 15% more employees. That is an outcome that comes from a program. A program is a complementary combination of projects and services and operations and other activities that would help deliver that benefit that you want. So if you put this service together and it works well and people can come and submit applications, but by the end of 1 year cannot prove that you increased your number of employees by at least 15%, then that program was a failure, although the project was a success. Do you get that? All right. So the project is measured by its physical or end of project deliverable. The program is measured by the benefits that you will get after some time. Most of the times, programs have a timeline of a few years. It can even be 6 months, right? You can have milestones for, you know, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, 1 year, that is. And those could be a curve, right? Where you expect certain outcomes to happen over time. All right, so that service that we're talking about, where you want to increase the number of employees by 15% for your fast-growing organization, may not be doable by just having that counter where people can walk in with the applications. Maybe you need to set up an IT system, a portal for them, for these people to submit their applications so that you can get a lot more of these coming through. Maybe you need to set up acceptance criteria and evaluation criteria for how you will score these applications or filter them out. Maybe you want to use artificial intelligence that would help you sort these things out. Maybe ChatGPT, I don't know, incorporate something into a system with some coding that allows you to filter the applications that have been submitted into that system. So that would be the IT component of it, other than the walk-up service that you have. Now, you also need to advertise this service, right? You need to advertise it within your organization, outside your organization, so people who work for your organization can bring in recruits from the outside, relatives and so on, and friends. And you also want to advertise it on public areas like, you know, Indeed.com, or maybe any of these job sites, or maybe through universities, through maybe partnerships. So let's keep partnerships on the side because that's a different initiative, right? So the advertising part, where you want to advertise this so people know, whether it's in the paper, TV, social media. Who does paper anymore? All right, so social media. I'm getting old, right? So social media, TikTok, right? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook for the older generation, I guess, to advertise the fact that you are hiring, LinkedIn, all of these places, you want to advertise it. So advertising in itself is a sub program because you now need to create the ads, right? The graphics for these. We call them the assets, right? So you need to create these assets, and then you're going to use these to advertise the fact that you have job openings and you are hiring aggressively. So that's one more component. Another component will be the partnership. You partner with a lot of these universities, and then you partner with maybe sister companies that will send you the recruits. Universities have internship programs and they have work study programs and so on, but they have programs to help their own students get experience in working. So they will send you these. That's a partnership arrangement, and somebody's got to lead that. So mind you, we're talking first about an IT system that you need to set up, a portal, a counter where people can walk in, a business process where you review and analyze the incoming applications, and you're also going to advertise it, which is a different initiative, and you're also going to create a partnership arrangement with some of these universities. That's a different initiative. All right. Now you could also add one more, a financial initiative, bonuses, incentives, something that you can throw in that would encourage people to apply at your organization. Let's say it's an employee market where it's very hard to get employees. Then you need that financial incentive, and you may have to try to work something out maybe with the government to get some money back or support to help fund this initiative. So that's a different initiative on its own. But combine all of these things that I just talked about, and you have a program. You have a program whose outcome is, I want to increase the number of employees I have by 15%. Therefore, I'm going to do initiative number one, I'm going to create an IT portal. Initiative number two, I'm going to have a service, a counter for this. Number three, an evaluation system to score people that are applying or to score the applications. Number four, an advertising sub-program. It's a sub-program, a partnership arrangement, a financial arrangement. All of these things are needed so that my program would be successful and deliver the benefit, which is a 15% increase in number of employees. So programs are never, hardly ever, measured by the physical deliverable that you have at the end of the projects, but instead it's by the outcome that you get from using that physical deliverable or service or whatever initiative you worked on, the partnerships. A partnership that doesn't yield fruit is useless, right? So you want a combination, a well-designed combination of all of these projects or initiatives so that at the end, you will have that 15% increase. And that's the benefit that you're aiming for. Okay, so that's what programs are. They deliver benefits over time as a result or as an outcome from using all of the underlying projects that are underneath. So are projects smaller? If they roll up to the program, the projects will be a subset of that program. And if you leave out any of these projects, then you will not get the same results. So if you don't have the partnership with the universities, you probably will not get the same results. Let's say you do have it, but then you don't have the advertising. You also will not get the same result. So as you can see, programs will give you better results if you define the necessary components or projects that go into that program. Hope you got that one. Now, let's switch over to portfolios. Portfolios are groups. I want to use combination again. So it's a grouping of some type of initiative for easier management. So let's say we are a very large organization and we have a lot of IT projects, we have a lot of construction projects, but we also have services. What if we wanted to manage these and we decided that we want to group them separately? So the IT projects will be one group, call that a portfolio, IT portfolio. Then we have the construction portfolio. Then we have the services portfolio. You can replace the word portfolio with group. Okay, so IT group, or let's say grouping, IT project group, and then you call not group as a division in your organization, but a group of projects. Okay, So a wallet, if you want. It's a wallet that holds all of these. It's a basket that holds all of these projects. I want one basket that holds all of the IT, one basket that holds all of the construction project, and another one that holds all of the services projects. Okay, so each is in its own basket, and that's what we call the portfolio. So why do we create portfolios, and what is the relation between portfolios, programs, and projects? Well, I'll explain it to you. That's my job. When an organization has a mission and a vision, and if you don't know what these things mean, maybe you got to look for another video to explain that, but I'll give you the summary. A mission is what the organization does. So we are, let's say, a medical instrumentation company, and a vision is where we want to be in a certain number of years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? So we have a vision. We have a dream. We have a vision. We want to be somewhere at some point. And for us to be there, let's say we want to be the leader. Everybody wants to be the leader. We want to be the leader in a specific niche market, right? Or region in the country, right? And for us to be the leader, we know that we need to have this much market share or presence. So we have that vision. And for that vision to be realized, we have to do certain things. You can't just sit and watch movies, Netflix and everything, right? And things will just magically happen. No, they don't. You got to act on it. And for you to act on it, you have to hire people, you have to train them, you have to advertise your business, and so on and so on. Maybe that's why we need the 15% increase in the employees, right? All right, so we have a vision, and to accomplish that, certain things need to be done. Well, you always hear about it's better to do things at the right time, or the horse before the cart, or, things like that. If you try to rush things where the prerequisites have not been satisfied, and you go into the second step when you haven't done the first step, there's a chance that that second step would fail, even though the whole idea was actually a good one. So portfolio managers, or the portfolio planning aspect here, is to organize the work that we need to do for this year, next year, and the following years. We have a vision, we have a mission, we know what we want to get to, right? And the best way to get there is to do it in a very sound, well-planned, coordinated way. And that means we don't rush into the second step when the first step has not been satisfied first. So portfolio planning looks at which things need to be done this year, next year, and the following year, so that we remain focused, so that we can achieve our goals or objectives, or let's say our mission and vision. If we start to skip, or if we start to focus on things that don't matter, and here's the word strategically aligned, things that are not lined up properly to deliver what should have been completed in 2024 and then 2025. If we start to jump around and do many different things that are not related, then there's a chance the whole year will be completed, but the things that we wanted to complete in this year would not have been done because we wasted our money on something else. So who controls that? Well, that's what portfolio management does. Portfolios create little groupings of different initiatives, and the portfolio manager who oversees these little groupings, let's say the IT group, the IT portfolio, they have their own strategic directives. There are things they need to accomplish by a specific time frame. And so they try to control which of these IT projects will be run this year or this quarter before the next quarter. And they look at the performance of the underlying projects and programs, which will be in the portfolio. They look at the performance of these, they make sure they got done on time, because there are dependencies from one project to another project, or from a program to a project, or a project to a program. There's always projects or programs or even operations underneath the portfolio. So let me give you an example of a portfolio. So let's say we are a well-established business and we operate nicely in the USA, but we decide we want to expand our business to North and South America. So we want to go to Canada, and we also want to go down to South America. So we create 2 new portfolios, one for Canada, one for South America. South America, we're just going to group all the countries there. All right. Well, let's just say Canada and Mexico. That will make it easier. So for Canada, we're going to create one portfolio. For Mexico, we create another portfolio. For Canada, all the work that we will do for expansion into Canada is going to go into the Canadian portfolio. All the work we do for the Mexican one will go into the Mexican portfolio. And you inside that portfolio, there'll be multiple programs to advertise our business or partner. There'll be several projects to establish an office there, hire several team members, and so on. So all the work that we do is for that portfolio. And because they are grouped together by Canada or by Mexico, we call these portfolios. There is no ending for these portfolios. Programs have an end. Remember the example I gave you. I wanted to increase my number of employees by 15%, right? That had a timeline. It needs to be completed by a specific time frame. All the components need to be in place by a certain time, and the results need to be achieved within 1 year. With a portfolio, it's a little bit different. You want to just categorize or group all of this work as one piece, so you call it a portfolio. So you say all of the work for Canada is going to be the Canadian portfolio. In that portfolio, there is a strategic outcome that we want. And that strategic outcome is more of a financial one. So we want to break into that market because that's important for us strategically. And therefore, we're doing all this work to break into that Canada market, right? But we're also going to invest a certain amount. So there's always a financial aspect to portfolios. We're going to invest a certain amount. Maybe we're putting in, let's say, $1 billion to go into the Canadian market because we think it's well worth it for competition purposes, right? So we're going to put $1 million into that. $1 billion, sorry. What $1 million? You know, $1 million don't do much, right? So $1 billion we're going to put into the Canadian market. So the mindset of the organization is we're going to create a $1 billion portfolio to enter and establish the Canadian market. And the reason we want to do that is because we think that there's something to gain from there. There's probably a business case that we've put together, and we believe it's profitable to be in the Canadian market, either for competition purposes or for some return on investment. There's most of the time a return on investment component to this. So we may have in mind that we're going to put $1 million, I keep saying a million, billion. We're going to put $1 billion in the Canadian market, and we're going to get a certain return, let's say 20% return on our investment. That's how we want to invest our money. So portfolios are strategic groupings of initiatives in one domain, territory, type of projects that we get into for the purpose of benefits, typically financial benefits. That's different from increasing your employees by 15%. Okay? That is an organizational benefit. We are looking at financial benefits. We are entering the market because we want financial benefits. We want market share. It's important for our organization to get in there. So we create this portfolio and we put a portfolio manager, which could be the country manager that manages that portfolio. And that person will be responsible for all activities, programs, and projects and operations that would happen in that Canadian market. Likewise, the Mexican market, right? So each will manage their own portfolio. Now, with portfolios, you could decide to back out at any time. So let's say we started the Canadian and the Mexican one, and we have our US operations. And after a year or two, we find out on review of the results that the Canadian market is not doing well, but the Mexican market is doing really well. Well, why keep wasting money on the Canadian market? So we could close out that portfolio. So portfolios don't really have an end, but can be ended if you feel they're no longer profitable. Portfolios can run forever as long as they are making money. Now, organizations have a portfolio of research work that they do. They have innovation. They have labs where they're always testing ideas. That is a portfolio. It's not a program. It's a portfolio. And it is something that keeps getting funded for the purpose of having a return, you know, from the new idea. So they keep it running because that's the portfolio that they have for, or the grouping of all of the initiatives related to innovation or innovation lab for the organization. So portfolios are our way, the organization's way of grouping a certain number of projects of one type, one sort, or from the same territory, or maybe managed by one specific team lead or leader in the organization. And it's for ease of management, and it's to realize some strategic financial outcome or benefit. Okay. And this is just for grouping purposes. So mind you, in the portfolio, I could have multiple initiatives, like in the Canadian one, I could have multiple initiatives that are not really related, but they represent all of what we do in Canada. Whereas in a program, the benefits come from a combination of underlying projects and initiatives that are well designed and thought about to give you that benefit. And all of these components under the program will be related. They are related. In a portfolio, they don't have to be related. It's just a convenient grouping of all of these initiatives, right? In a program, it's a designed selection of these initiatives or sub-programs or projects so that we can get the program benefit that we want. A project is just a one-off thing that will give you some service, some product, some deliverable at the end, and it is inspected at the end of delivery. That is all I have for you. Projects, programs, portfolios. Hopefully you now know more than what you knew when you first started watching the video. If you like this video and you want to get notified about when I publish any similar videos, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will let you know when I have a new video. And thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you on the next video. Bye-bye.